Hi, Tal. My name is Ellen, and I will be correcting this set of essays for you. Let's take a look at what you've got here. It's the book sales across time by genre. It's a stacked bar chart. So let's see what you did with this. The chart compares the total number of sold books, S here, across 5 book types and over 3 years. Overall, there was no clear trend, as some of the genres were growing between 2013 and 2015, while others experienced a decrease in the total numbers of sales. Numbers of sales remain the same. Okay, yes, that's true. But couldn't you have told us something specific? At least not with data, but like something at least giving us some information. So I think it would be fair to say that over the 3 years, romance books sold the most and mystery sold the least. Okay? Or if you want, you could have said romance sold the most, followed closely by, it looks like it's neck and neck with science fiction and fantasy. So no, I would leave that out. Yeah, I would say that overall, while there was no particular trend within the 3 years, throughout the period, romance sold the most, and mystery sold the least. Okay, so that's giving a little more information to your reader here. Okay. The fantasy books category had an initial figure of about 300 sales in 2013, which then increased gradually to around 400 in 2014, 600. Okay, let's see. Mystery. Nope, fantasy. Here we go. Fantasy. So 300, and then you counted that to about 400, and then about 600. Okay, fine. Okay. All right, we'll talk about this in a minute. The romance type, which started at roughly 600 sales in 2013, went through a decrease during 2014, but then returned to the initial number of 600 units. However, the other 3 book types, mystery, thriller, and science fiction, all started their peak in 2013, reaching, okay. When is this? I'm assuming it's in 2013. Okay. I'm confused here. Wait. Then, however, the other 3 book types started their peak. Okay, got it. In 2013, reaching this, fine, respectively. In the following 2 years, there was a steady fall in their sales, reaching to low records of approximately 300 sales of mystery books, 400 of thrillers. Okay, when? In 2015? Okay, that's important to know. Okay, I think for me, you got into a lot of good detail, and I liked a lot of the detail, but I think you were kind of missing the key point. In fact, the whole thing that I said in the overview, you never even mentioned it. Like you never mentioned once that romance sold the most books overall. And that's important. Okay, because that's your highest figure here. It's pretty clear. Another thing I didn't really love was the way you organized. Like, I definitely would not have started with fantasy at all. I definitely would have started with romance. Again, pointing out that it had the highest sales both in 2013 and in 2015, along with fantasy. Okay. But overall, that it had the highest book sales. So I would have started there. Um, let's see what you did. And then you lumped these 3 together. Okay. So I guess it's all right. I understand why you did that. So yeah, I probably would have started talking about romance, and then I would have talked about fantasy, but in that order, because look at how clear as day it is. Okay, and then I would have separated my paragraph, and then I would have talked about those 3 just like you did. But it felt like you were kind of just going down the row, and you don't want to do that because then examiners consider that to be mechanical. Mechanical is just something that a machine can do, and it doesn't show any kind of real critical thinking or that any thought has been put into the order or the organization of this, and you don't want that. So for that reason, I'm going to say one more time that I would have started off with romance and then fantasy. Then I would have split my paragraphs, and in my next paragraph, I would have talked about these 3. Okay, so that's how I would do it. You had 1 paragraph to talk about both paragraphs. Well, I had them in 2. You put all of your detail into this 1 paragraph, and that's not such a great idea. That's something that may affect your coherence and cohesion score. So the good news though about this is that your grammar was quite good. There was nothing really that stood out to me. Vocabulary was fine. So for me, what was important here was task achievement and coherence and cohesion. That you need to kind of pick up on what the main thing is, the biggest thing that kind of sticks out, and you have to make sure that you include it in your overview and then go into detail about it in the body paragraphs, okay? All right, so it's a good first attempt. Like I said, a lot of really good elements, but there are some things that I would like to see improved in order to get you into one of those higher band scores. All right, international marketing, great. So marketing overseas can be considered as intrusive and boundary crossing into the region the marketing is targeting. Others claim that it is essential and makes economic sense, and that it brings other cultural values by exposing different languages and cultures and bringing new perspectives. While there are arguments for both views, I believe that international marketing is essential for companies that are looking to expand globally, and that it is not more intrusive than other local marketing campaigns. Great, great, great. I really like this. There's some excellent language in here, really nice vocabulary, very topic appropriate, really nicely done. Like things like expand globally, local marketing campaigns, new perspectives. So all of this was some really very natural sounding collocations. And so I really liked it. Now, apart from the vocabulary, which I focused on, I also really liked the way you organized your introduction. So you basically presented both sides. You said some people say this, some people say this, and while there are arguments for both views, I think this. So that was great. I really liked that. It was a nice segue, a nice way to do this. So really great, well done paragraph. Now, let's talk about the next thing that I see here that really kind of concerns me. So like as an examiner, it's like a red flag for me. Look how tiny your body paragraph 1 is. All of a sudden, as an examiner, I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, this is really underdeveloped. Now, if you look at the band descriptors for task achievement, under band 7, it says covers all parts of the task equally. Well, clearly that's not the case because you've got 4 lines here and you've got at least 8 lines here. So this is double the size of this. So how is it possible for you to cover both sides equally? Obviously, you've spent twice as much time and effort in this one than you have in this one. Another reason why this is a red flag is because it's actually shorter than your introduction. I always advise students that the introduction should be brief, it should be to the point, and yeah, I really liked your introduction. I thought you did a great job. But that also means that the body paragraphs need to be longer, okay? They need to be longer, they need to be extended, they need to be supported. So visually, just looking at this, I'm thinking to myself, uh-oh, we're definitely going to have a problem here with task achievement because there's a lot of development in this paragraph and very, very little in this. So we do look at those kinds of things. So let me now read it and I'll tell you where I think you could have developed and what should have been done. On the one hand, brands who are investing in international marketing are essentially bringing their products into their new potential audience. You're missing an apostrophe S. Your audience is commercial space. As they're not local, they are likely to not blend in and potentially make the people who come across it feel uncomfortable. For example, if the advertising includes language the viewers don't know, or if the images do not feel seen. Okay. So this is really underdeveloped. You've got one point here. And yeah, you do support it, but that's it. And then you stop and you're like, all right, I'm done. So do you really feel like this covered the idea of international marketing being invasive and intrusive? I definitely don't. There was a ton more you could have talked about. What about the idea that, if a product from another company kind of rolls into your country, what's happening to local producers? Don't they feel threatened? Doesn't potentially their market share decrease because, customers may want something foreign, which may be viewed as a higher value product? Okay, so what does this mean for the local economy? What does this mean for local producers? And so does that potentially create an issue and some resentment for this marketing that may have much more money to back it up? So think about some of these really large multinational companies that are able to enter foreign markets. They usually have a huge advertising budget as well. So if you were a local producer and you see maybe like a brand of sneakers or something being advertised, but you make sneakers in your country, you'd be like, you know what, this is really rotten that, because they have all this money, they can advertise and they can promote, and yet, me, I'm selling to my country, I do not have those kinds of funds. So that's something you could have talked about here, and why people feel it's invasive and intrusive, because it basically takes the market share and they cannot compete, essentially. Okay, because these multinational companies are so well funded. You could have also maybe talked a little more specifically. Let me see. You said makes some people uncomfortable, includes language the viewers don't know. Well, here you ran into a little bit of a problem, because I feel like you maybe didn't totally get what international marketing is. International marketing is when advertisements and marketing are actually altered to be kind of culturally friendly to the country they're being marketed to. So, maybe, I guess, let me give you an example. Like, if, you've got like a Muslim country where women wear hijab, for example, you wouldn't want the advertisement to show a woman with, like, you know, immodestly dressed, or her hair, like, uncovered and things like that. So you would want to alter the image, alter the video, or what have you, so that it reflects the customs and traditions of the country you're advertising to. So international marketing wouldn't, if it's done effectively, it would not be in a different language. I mean, that's another thing. It would probably be translated into the language of the host country. So that's a couple of things I was like, maybe you needed to brush up a little bit on international marketing. Um, so yeah, I mean, those things, again, task achievement is what we're talking about here throughout this whole time. Um, you know, Going into more detail, and making sure you're also on topic, and adding another point here. All right, let's see. On the other hand, marketing worldwide is an essential and legitimate strategy to bring businesses into new territories. It is an effective and common method, and is likely that there are no other proven ways to replace it. Moreover, okay, all right, could you have said something more about this, maybe? Moreover, it has a culture. It's essential and legitimate strategies, effective and common. Yeah, I don't really know how all of this is relevant to what you're asked to talk about, like this whole section. It sounds nice and it looks nice, but it doesn't really say anything. And it's certainly not answering the question. So let me remind you of what the question is. It's a necessary form of economical and an economical form of education. Let's see. What did you say? I see. You're trying to rephrase it, and you're saying it's essential and legitimate. Okay. Um, so, all right. So let's keep the first sentence, but then let's knock this sentence out, because I really don't feel like it's doing anything to support what you're saying. Okay. It is essential and legitimate to bring businesses into new territories. All right. Why? Why is it essential and legitimate? Can you tell me something more about that? All right. You need to get into some detail here, and that's what support does. When you present an idea, you have to support it. You can't just leave it there standing alone. This sentence I did not feel did that. It was basically just this, but with different words. Okay? So, moreover, it has a cultural benefit by bringing the brand's origin country into the advertisement. Okay, good. For instance, including landscapes from the country, words in a foreign language, and different looking people. These can expose people to the brand's country and promote diversity. Okay. In addition, marketing can be experienced as intrusive. Why are you talking about that here? Regardless of it is a domestic or international one, as it is taking over commercial spaces in people's day-to-day lives, for example, while they are reading or watching television. Okay, I get it. All right. But wait a minute. What were you supposed to talk about? You're supposed to talk about languages. You did. Ideas, and what was the other thing? Ideas, language, and culture. Okay. So landscapes, okay, different looking people, promote diversity. All right. I still feel like you could have been a little more faithful to what the topic asked you to talk about, but I understand what you were doing. I get it. I still would have liked a little more here, especially if you're aiming for a band 7, a little more relevant to what was being talked about. Okay. So how could it spread ideas? What kind of ideas could be spread? Think about those kinds of things. Okay. So, in conclusion, while international marketing can be experienced with a D as invasive, it is an effective method to promote businesses outside of their countries, and it brings the valuable aspect of exposing cultures, languages, and ideas. Okay, that's fine. So, you should have a pretty good idea about what I liked here. I really liked your vocabulary and I really liked your grammar. Your coherence and cohesion was okay. It was fine. The way you organized your paragraphs was fine. For me, the biggest problem with this essay was task achievement for all the reasons I mentioned. It was not balanced. Okay, so you definitely leaned far more heavily on the second paragraph of your body, and that wasn't so great. The grammar was really good. The vocabulary was really good. None of that stood out. And coherence and cohesion also, at least as far as your task 2 was concerned, because with task 1, I think I said there were some issues. But I thought your coherence and cohesion here was fine. It didn't bother me. I didn't even think about it. It just flowed really nicely. So the issue at hand now is task achievement, and that's what I want you to work on. That's what you need to be focusing on because that's what I think, at least in this set, is holding you back. Okay. So I hope we can continue to work together, Tal. I really think you've got a lot of potential to do very, very well. And with some guidance, we can help get you there. Okay. So thanks for submitting this set of essays, and I hope to see more work from you soon. Good luck.